Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who's joining me for a simultaneous kickoff two-screen experience for the final time this World Cup. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, you've forgotten there are games this afternoon.
Well, today's the final time. Today's the final time. This show will be the final recap of simultaneous kickoffs. I know what I'm doing.
Excellent cover.
I know what I'm doing. But it's true, right? No more simultaneous kickoffs after this. We are recording this first part of the Total Soccer Show after we've seen Group H, right? So Group H is done. If you don't want to know what happened, you're listening to the wrong part of the podcast because we're about to tell you. That's enough of a spoiler warning, right? Colombia are through. They top the group after beating Senegal 1-0. Japan are through, I think, on fair play after losing to Poland 1-0.
You're correct. Senegal, the first team ever to be eliminated from a World Cup on fair play.
Is that right? That's painful.
It is.
That's painful.
It is, but I mean, it's the type of thing that obviously this doesn't happen since it's the first time. But like we had, a couple World Cups ago, maybe the last one, it was New Zealand getting eliminated without ever losing a game. Like you do have those weird anomalies.
But New Zealand just went there to defend,
well,
right?
there is
whereas
that,
Senegal have played a bit more open, and it would have been enjoyable to see them in the round of 16.
It would have.
I did not like the idea of choosing between Senegal and Colombia,
Nor did
if I'm honest, because they're two very enjoyable teams.
And then Colombia went and ruined it.
Should we talk about what went down?
Sure.
In this game. So it finishes 1-0 to Colombia. It starts with a weird 20, 30 minutes of watching James hobble around for Colombia.
I think it's weirder watching it again. Like basically, we
rewatched it.
We went back and watched. Like, is there a specific incident? Is there a moment when it is like officially determined? Yeah. Oh no, this isn't going to work.
Did Koulibaly work his calf?
Yeah, exactly. And it's from the start. Like I think in the first couple minutes, you can see him sort of doing just that step and a little bit of that stretch, and then in the 6th minute, there's a close up of him where you can see him grimace. And from that point on, it really you don't see him run very much. There's times when he's jogging forward.
I didn't see him accelerate once.
No. I mean, I think he had a couple moments, but it would always be accelerate for the exact amount of space and time needed, and then go back to slow jog. And even like when the ball would go to him, it would be sort of like he would reach for it, but he couldn't reach 100%. And it not to say that he was bad or just like immobile, it was just definitely a very limited James Rodriguez.
He was reduced.
Yes.
And I think the biggest thing for me is the thing we always say about James Rodriguez is they always look for him, understandably, but he's always on his toes, running, moving to make himself available. He couldn't do that. He was just jogging at best, mostly walking around, and he just was not available. He barely saw the ball. The weird part to me is that they gave him 31 minutes. I think. So we noticed the grimace in the 6th minute, subbed out in the 31st minute. They really let it slide for a while.
It felt like both coaches, because you had the same thing, not the same thing, but Sabali was injured and then allowed to play for like a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then they eventually subbed him off at a point when they went a man down because he couldn't continue to play.
Yeah, well, more on that, because that leads to I believe that leads to Colombia's goal.
No arguments here. But I think it was both managers really not wanting to have to make changes too early or to deviate from the scripted plan.
Was Peckerman hoping that James would magically heal himself?
Yes.
Yeah, like he's so good he can fix his leg.
I mean, there is I don't believe in playing through pain, but I've definitely had that where there was a little bit of discomfort, and I've been I'm just not going to think about that anymore for this game. I'll deal with that later. And I think that's probably what they're hoping, that he hoped it was a little bit it's a little sore, it's a little tender, I'll just run. Adrenaline will kick in, it will go away, it will hurt after the game.
Adrenaline will
fix
this.
And then that did not happen.
So I would argue it's quite hard to tell any specific Colombia game plan because it usually goes through James, and James couldn't move. So they were sort of stalled, right? They were maybe stuck in neutral trying to get out of this game.
It became a lot of Juan Cuadrado trying to do things. That continued to be the case. And it became a lot of Radamel Falcao, I think, doing what he would have been doing, but he didn't have James as an outlet. He didn't have that layoff option. So it was either drawing fouls or trying to hold it up and not having much support.
But I think we could tell what Senegal would do.
Yes.
Senegal had a game plan, which was they knew about Colombia's, what do we call it, the spring press, where Colombia sit back to halfway and then they jump on
the mousetrap, I think.
The mousetrap press. Oh, that's a good one for it. Senegal had a plan for that. They did not want to get caught with that, right? They didn't want to be dispossessed of the ball in their own half. So when Colombia were about to spring the mousetrap press, Senegal went long, right? They went long to Niang, who's a good target, or to Mane, who's going to get there no matter what. And then even if they didn't win that ball, right? Say if Jerry Mina or Davison Sanchez, the centre-backs, got there first, then Senegal would somewhat counter-press and try and win the second ball. I think this is a really good idea in theory. I'm surprised it didn't fully work.
Yeah, as am I. And if you need an evidence of it, it was I think the 17th 15th minute, Senegal have a goal kick, and it goes short to Koulibaly, and you can see him turn. I think Idrissa Gana Gueye checks in, and Koulibaly like puts his hands up. Everybody moves further up the field like 10 yards, and then he boots it long. And I think it's a smart way to deal with Colombia at full strength. I think they adjusted a little bit when they realized James can't quite go 100%, and there was a little bit more possession down that side of the field. But for the most part, it makes sense, because if you're trying to pass it out and the trap is sprung and suddenly you're caught, you're in like a 2v3 situation. You don't want that. If you boot it long, you can challenge for it, but then you can also try to put your own press on Colombia in their half of the field.
There you go. And it did nearly work, because Senegal had an almost penalty.
Yep.
I'm going to call it an almost penalty. Referee awarded a penalty kick for a Davinson Sanchez slide tackle on Sadio Mane, I believe, which starts with Juan Cuadrado for Colombia doing the thing I think you warned about, that sometimes he's infamous for, maybe trying to dribble a little bit too much, getting caught, and then Senegal go on the counter, right? And I think it's Balde, plays in Mane, Sanchez slide tackles across, referee points to the spot, something happens in his ear.
Yep.
He goes and re-watches it. Then the penalty is ruled out. Senegal do not get their penalty kick.
Yeah.
We've re-watched this many, many, many times. We could do a morning radio show thing where you say it's definitely a penalty, I say it's definitely not.
Well, I'm just saying, Dale Grove, I think anytime you're going through a player's legs, you got to be considering that to be a penalty.
We both don't know, right? I think this is too close to call.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it feels almost, this might not be very articulate, so I apologize in advance, but it feels sort of like what our VAR expert friend, who that's what we're going to leave it as, said, like, there's a chance that with some calls, if it were called the other way, it would be reversed. Like that if he had given this as not a penalty, he might have looked at it and said, oh, he did kind of get the leg there. Even if he gets the ball, he goes through him. Yeah, that's a penalty. So like,
can we talk through why this is so confusing though? Because I think the Sanchez tackle, he slides across, he gets like I call it like the hook heel tackle. He gets the ball, but then he also, in the millisecond afterwards, his calf, Sanchez's calf makes contact with Mane's shin, and you see Mane's left leg sort of fold underneath the weight of that, and then Sadio Mane goes down.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like a clean tackle and not a clean tackle. And I really think this is one of those things that is just at the referee's discretion.
Yeah,
it's a judgment call.
I agree. I think it is until VAR says, "Hey, change your judgment call." But I think
no, but I'd even disagree with that. I'd say VAR just says, "Hey, have another look at this."
You missed this. Yeah,
yeah. But then even then, the ref has like made one judgment call based on what he saw. Then he sees it another way and makes a different judgment call with more information, which is the key to VAR. But I still would argue there is no 100% definite correct decision here. It's just that this ref has made a decision with more information. Yeah. I still wouldn't stand by it 100%.
No, I think that's probably the safest approach to take, because from his vantage point, the angle he's at when the tackle goes in, you would understand why he thinks, oh, he hits both legs there, he doesn't get the ball.
Right, because it looks like Sanchez just goes through Mane.
And it looks like Mane gets a touch. It looks like Mane just takes a touch forward and then gets cleaned out.
Yeah.
It's only with that replay and the advantage of having, 15 different camera angles or whatever it is, that you can see, oh no, Koulibaly gets that little bit of a heel to it first. Sanchez gets a heel to it first, knocks it back into Mane's foot, then gets that leg in the process. And I think the difference here, like I think about it compared to the Josh Risden tackle on Antoine Griezmann.
Oh yeah,
and I think in that situation,
was that this year?
Exactly right. But in that situation, he gets the ball, so it's same thing as the tackle.
You saying Risden gets the ball or Sanchez gets the ball?
Risden and Sanchez get the ball.
Yeah,
but Risden's. It doesn't really change the path of the ball. It doesn't really affect anything, in my opinion. And then it's the secondary hit on Griezmann's cleat that trips him. In this situation...
Agreed. And Griezmann could have been through on goal if it hadn't been for that secondary hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In this case, Davinson Sanchez gets that ball, gets enough of a touch on it so it's not just like, oh yeah, there's a faint little whiff from the bottom of a cleat. Like he gets his full heel, hits it into Mane's foot. I think that's part of the reason why Mane is off balance. So then I think that ball is going to go away. He's not going to be able to get to it. The contact is part of the challenge. I understand why then you would overturn it and give it as a free kick, not a penalty. But if there was a person who was very vehemently saying, no, it should have been a penalty, I would probably be like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so we're going to sit on the fence, but in the most detailed possible way.
Yes.
We're sitting on a very detailed fence.
Yeah, sure. It's a very nuanced fence, yes.
I'm sure Senegal will not be happy, though, because they lose the game 1-0. And I would say there's a huge element of bad luck to conceding this goal.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. Sabali, the left back, my lovely right-footed left back, I've really enjoyed him this tournament. Sabali essentially pulls up lame, right? You just see him start feeling his leg, and I think he says to a teammate, I can't remember who's next to him, but he just does the
I think it's Koulibaly
the rotating circle fingers that says, I'm off, I got to
Yeah.
go. So then the treatment team come on, they take him off, and there's, a few minutes.
I think that had already been a few minutes from the moment when he was obviously injured, but I think he similarly tried to play through it, hoped it would go away. It didn't go away, then he goes down for treatment.
Most importantly, after they take him off, before they can get a sub in, Senegal are down to 10 men. Right? So Keita Balde, who's been brought in to do his left-wing attacking stuff, has to temporarily play left back. I would argue Colombia think, all right, let's go after this guy. Because they do work that right side and win a corner down that right side.
I would agree with you to the extent that that's what they had already been doing because it's Juan Cuadrado on the right. Yeah. So I think it was more so Juan Cuadrado doing what he would have done anyway.
Yes, especially with no James on their left, right? Yeah. So suddenly your key wide attacker is on the right. Yeah.
But now there's one fewer covering defender.
Yeah.
It's going to make it that much easier for Juan Cuadrado to find space. And I think then to your point, the fact that it's Keita Balde, who is not a natural defender, I think you can see that in the way he kind of gets pulled inside, then he steps to the wrong player, then he has to go across and try to cover Juan Cuadrado. And so I think just you can see a little bit of that inexperience in terms of his defensive responsibilities.
And he ends up giving away the corner kick with a slightly panicky poke tackle as Cuadrado's about to go by him. So they win the corner kick.
This is a bizarre sequence, I have to say, from start to finish.
Because then they make the sub, right? Yep. And is it Gassama comes sprinting on and joins the Senegalese defenders in the box. Wagwe, excuse me. Gassama then switches sides, I guess. Wagwe comes on. Colombia take the corner kick. Jerry Mina bangs it home for the second game in a row with his head.
5 goals in 14 appearances.
Yeah, 2 in 2 at the World Cup.
That's insane.
He is a very dangerous man on set pieces. We rewatched this. It's Kouyaté, the Senegalese captain, that he gets away from with something we think as simple as a well-timed sprint.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's just he makes a run because we thought, like I was with you when we watched it, that he must have shoved him or he must have done something or must have been a screen.
Because he creates a lot of separation.
Yeah, I think it was just Kouyaté was relying on I'm kind of holding him, like I've got a touch on him, and then it's that thing where then like he leaves the hand behind Jerry Mina, and he just gets away. Like I think Kouyaté thinks, I've got positioning and doesn't realize that run has started.
I saw them sort of grappling a little bit. Do you think Kouyaté just let go for a second?
Maybe. I mean, it's what we've seen in the tournament is like you don't want to be caught holding on to the players. They try to run away. It's an easy way to concede a penalty or theoretically easy. So maybe that's it. But either way.
Never let go, Kouyaté. If you're going to do it, never let go.
Jerry Mina is wide open. And like I don't even know if Kouyaté being there would have done much because Jerry Mina is very tall and can jump very, very high.
Yeah.
But it's a towering header.
Yeah, towering is the correct word here.
But this is why I say it's a bizarre sequence, because the thing that I completely missed that you spotted, so it's just like, I can't not watch it now. It's
Idrissa
Gana Gueye.
So he is marking...
I don't know what he's doing. It's so weird.
There is a job that you do on corner kicks, which is stand on the near post. And your job is just make sure nothing goes inside this near post. Your job is just use your width to block this off, right? But there's something about the way he's standing that just seems weird because
he's literally leaning with his left shoulder against the post with his right hand on his hip, almost to the extent that, like, if you imagine how you would look casually if you had your like left heel crossed your right foot, like leaning up against something, that's what he looks like.
Like he's waiting for a date and he's 5 minutes early, and so he's just killing time.
Yeah, he's leaning up against it, and you can watch he should have a cell phone in his hand and just be like casually scrolling on it, and that's kind of. I
was imagining a newspaper.
That would be nice.
Mine was more retro.
But see, the newspaper might have blocked the shot because it is that close, and he doesn't take his hand off his hip as the ball goes in. He like turns his head and watches the ball go by. It's like, well, that went in.
Is the possible defense of Idrissa Gana Gueye that one, maybe he's tired because he does cover a lot of ground in midfield, but two, that maybe he's just been told just stand there, don't get in the keeper's way, don't be a hero, don't try and do anything too much, just make sure the ball doesn't get inside that near post.
There is zero chance that he has been told stand flat-footed with your hand on your hip.
The hand on hip is the bad part.
That's the part that is just I cannot. It really is. It was hard after you pointed that out. It was hard to see anything else aside from like, what is he doing? And I'm not saying he would have.
No
stopped
one yells
it.
at him. So
no, I'm not saying he would have even been able to get on the end of it. I think you're right. There's a chance that if he tries to go for that header, he gets in the keeper's way. It's just still such a bizarrely casual position to take as you're conceding a goal that I kind of can't shake it.
So Senegal mount something of an attack, a sort of desperation attack, because they know what the score is over in the Japan-Poland game. They know that they're going out on fair play. You can't get reverse yellow cards, right? They can't go around doing good deeds to actually earn more fair play points. That's not how it goes.
Nope.
But they never seemed quite threatening to me. They just didn't. I think because the plan had been maybe that, like, when the press comes, we go direct, and there wasn't any secondary plan that was too effective. I do not think.
No, I don't think so either. And I think you've got Jerry Mina, you've got Enson Sanchez. They're going to be
Davinson Sanchez.
I keep calling him Enson Sanchez. Thank you. Davinson Sanchez is there. Like, you're not going to be able to beat them in the air, I don't think, unless you get significant numbers in the box, which then leaves you stretched and vulnerable.
Yep.
It's going to be difficult to play through the middle because they have the two holding midfielders happy to just sit in front of the defense.
I've got a time-wasting tactic for you that I think Colombia used.
What's that?
Sub out your captain.
Yep.
Right?
That's right. You spotted that one.
They subbed out Radamel Falcao. I can't remember the name of the striker that comes on for him, but I think the most important thing is that when you sub out your captain, he has to take the armband off, and you can take your time attaching the armband to a new player.
It's especially the case because the current armbands that they're using, it's like a band, and then you have to wrap the band around and
it's
Velcro
weird, right?
it.
The armbands I'm used to, they're just elastic. You just put it around and there's a bit of Velcro and it attaches. This seems to have multiple loops to it.
Yeah, and I think
it's no grip 6 belt, I'll tell you that.
It is not. But they use it to their advantage because it's like, oh, we got to slide that up the arm, then we got to wrap it around. Oops, I wrapped it around the wrong way. Let me try it again. Should I shake everyone's hands and high five? Okay.
You guys are waiting to score? Oh, we're working on this. We're working on this armband thing.
It's been 7 minutes and that armband still isn't on.
It wasn't quite that egregious, right? But it did
15 minutes went by.
It did kill a good 30 seconds. And the reason Senegal are out is that Japan sort of got the job done against Poland.
Yeah.
By which I mean they only lost 1-0 and avoided any more yellow cards. Or at least avoided getting more yellow cards than Senegal.
I mean, are they through?
They are through.
Then they got the job done.
Then job done, right? But it was kind of strange.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the goal they conceded. Let's talk about that first.
Sure.
It was, so Poland get a win. Good job, Poland. They don't go home empty-handed. Bednarek with a Marcos Rojo style volley will keep Southampton fans happy.
I'm not willing to concede that one, mostly because I love Marcos Rojo. It's a fine volley. Marcos Rojo's a beautiful volley.
It's more impressive for the way he seems to be surrounded by 3 Japan defenders, and he explodes them away from him.
I mean,
somehow.
it's a little bit juggernaut. He kind of runs through. He holds a few people off en route to volleying that ball in. The fact that he really does have like 3 Japanese players chasing him and trying to mark him, and yet Bednarak basically just says, no, I will score.
I wasn't expecting a Deadpool 2 reference on today's show.
It's just a comic book reference. It can be whatever you want it to be.
It was broader than that. The downside, Bednarak was starting ahead of the sainted Michael Pazdan.
Oh my goodness. Still trying to make that happen, huh?
Trying to make Pazdan.
Even though they're eliminated.
Pazdan happened so little in this game that he didn't play. It was Glick and Bednarak. So 1-0 Poland in the second half. Then around about the 75th minute in this game, word starts to get around that Colombia have scored. Senegal are losing. Japan are through. They've got same points, same goal difference, same goals scored as Senegal, but they've picked up fewer yellow cards. So if everything stays as is, they are through. And you can really see it, right? You can see Inui, I think, is the chief Japan player, spreading the word that the situation is now, we don't need to equalise, we can't concede, and we don't want to get any more yellow cards.
Yeah, it's when Zielinski gets subbed off and there's kind of like a substitute / kind of water break at that point. You can see in the background, I think you spotted this one. It's a lot of mouth-covered Japanese players talking to each other, and then like that player goes and talks to another player who goes and talks to another player. And it is definitely, don't mess this up.
It also slowly got louder because I saw Inui shouting across the field at various points.
It just feel like he started subtle, you're right. It was like, we're going to try to be calm, and then was like, hey, Poland, we're going to be calm. You guys do the same. We're good.
There's also... I've forgotten the Japanese coach's name.
Nishino?
Nishino makes a sub, right, in the 82nd, so a couple of minutes after the Zielinski sub. Muto is replaced by Hasebe, and I think this is where we get the official word from on high from the coach of, here's what we're doing here.
Yeah, he has said that in his post-match press conference. He basically said he wasn't comfortable with the decision, but he recognized that the results where they were, Japan didn't need to do anything, didn't need to get caught out. So they were. So when Hasebe comes on, his instructions were: don't go too far forward, do not lose the ball in a position where you can be vulnerable, stay defensive, don't concede any fouls, don't concede any yellow cards.
Japan's got to do what Japan's got to do.
Yeah,
to paraphrase.
And strangely, I would say it is to their credit. While there are a lot of people who think it's negative tactics and it's cheating or it's dirty soccer, or whatever. I think there's something to be said for the fact that Japan play a high-intensity system where it requires players doing exactly what they need to do to get the result. To be able to switch to like, okay, now we back off.
Yeah, Nagatomo, no more running up and down that left flank. Yeah, but
it's easier said than done. I mean, ask a Liverpool fan. Imagine Liverpool being told, okay, guys, just sit off for a while. Like it's unless it's built into your system, and like for these 10 minutes we're going to sit off so everybody recuperates. It's tough to flip that switch, especially in a high intensity final group stage game. I think it's kind of impressive that they didn't concede any fouls or yellow cards.
And they almost conceded a goal because
that is true.
Part of the problem with not trying to concede any yellow cards is I saw Japan start not really fully going into tackles. They almost like half step to a tackle and they'd be like, oh, this is a bit dicey, I'm going to step back. That ends up with Poland getting down the right, a cross comes in, and Makino stabs at it in his own box and almost scores it. Kawashima, who you have not been kind to, and I think with good reason, pulls off a save from Makino.
I mean, don't dive behind your own line, and we don't have to talk about it.
We forgot to mention this, right? In Bednarek's goal, Kawashima is once again behind the line in his own net, trying to make saves from back there.
Yeah, I forget who the goalkeeper was who came charging off of, like, from behind. He started behind his line and came running out for the penalty save.
Oh, yeah, it was the Iranian keeper?
That could be.
Yeah.
But, right, his save on Cristiano Ronaldo, yeah. But maybe, like, there could be some lessons here for Kawashima, because he seems to dive backwards a lot of the time.
But he saved his team here in the 80-something minute. And Japan, despite the weird situation, see it out, I would say with help from Poland, because Poland were also quite happy to get a win, right? So
there's a lot of walking in those final few minutes.
The last 5 minutes was just dead, right?
Yeah, and I mean...
The Walking Dead.
I feel conflicted because we both wanted Senegal. I think we both, if we're being honest, as neutrals, we enjoyed watching Senegal. And so I think there is some, like... I think it's justified to feel somewhat frustrated by the way things went, because Japan losing and not feeling like they need to do anything, while I understand that, it is sort of a bummer to see the other team go out on yellow cards, but then the argument is then don't get those yellow cards.
Yeah, there is that. And also, if Japan hadn't done what needed to be done, can you imagine how much people would be pointing at them and saying, this team isn't savvy, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's worth noting here that Aliou Cissé, the Senegal coach, basically said, like, it was our own fault. I
haven't seen the post-match interviews. I'm glad you have.
He, I mean, obviously wasn't thrilled, but he didn't come out and say, like, oh, this is unfair, or this is dirty tactics, or anything. He just said, like, we played the way we wanted to play, but this is the first step in a building process. And I think he said, like, and our building process is to be very, like, intense and try very hard, and maybe we tried too hard and got a few yellows as a result.
Oh, that's interesting. The one quibble I would have with him as well is after Poland had scored, after Japan had conceded, word in the Senegal-Colombia game also got around. Do you remember the moment when you could see Senegal suddenly slow down?
Yes.
There was a brief moment of Sadio Mane juggling the ball at midfield as everyone relaxed. And I think in hindsight, they'd have been better off, because this was before Colombia scored, they'd have been better off keep going.
Yeah, I think so. Because
hindsight's easy though, right?
It works both ways. That, like, if you, like, reduce your tempo and kind of, like, make it very clear, like, hey, we're going to slow it down now, it does then, like, as we talked about with Kawashima, he has to make that save, because if you back off, you allow opportunities for the other team. And if you're Senegal and you kind of stop doing that, like the direct ball to bypass the press, and then you put them under pressure, if you kick that ball long, but then you don't go put them under pressure to cause uncertainty, it allows them to build from the back and get opportunities, and then Colombia go ahead.
All right, so that is Group H wrapped. Colombia go through on top. Japan go through in second place thanks to fair play.
But who will they play, Daryl? Who will they play?
Well, we know, right? But we're not going to spoil it just yet. Because first, we sort of have breaking news on the Total Soccer Show. Yes. Thanks to today's sponsor, The Athletic. The Athletic is a website, an app with no ads, no pop-up videos. It's a subscription sports site with some great soccer writers in there, plus me and Taylor.
I was wondering if you were going to make that joke or if I was going to have to.
But one of the great soccer writers that The Athletic has is Paul Tenorio.
Right.
I think one of the most important writers in US soccer right now. He had breaking news today for The Athletic. Probably the story is maybe spread elsewhere by the time you hear this.
It's definitely spread.
But it's worth knowing that Paul Tenorio broke this news. Dave Sarachan, US men's national team interim head coach, has been given a 6-month extension.
Yes.
His contract expired in June, which is now. He's been given an extension until the end of the year. Tenorio has sources. His sources say that's what's happening.
Light the signal fires for the fury to commence.
I mean, Kind of, but maybe it shouldn't.
No, I mean, not to spoil the article, but like the two key points there, yes, it was extended. Worth noting that I think Dave Sarakin's contract ended at the end of June, or ends at the end of June.
So we were going to be literally coachless, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other key point from the article is that U.S. soccer sources indicated that this won't stop them from pursuing a coach. It just means they have a coach until the end of the year.
Yeah.
They can continue to look for other options.
So this isn't in the story, but my guess is that there's an opt-out somewhere in there, and he's just a 6-month placeholder. Yeah. And if they find someone in July or August or September, they can still hire Pep Guardiola.
Or he'll just keep getting extensions, and eventually he'll be on his 50th extension 14 years from now.
Now on his 4th World Cup, interim coach Dave Sarakin.
It's funny, but it's not. And I tweeted this a little bit. I still have a feeling like maybe some of the options that they thought might be available are less available right now.
You tweeted this, right?
Yes.
You thought Juan Carlos Osorio.
I thought maybe there was a chance that they had been talking to him or had some sort of advanced conversations, and maybe were expecting that he might be available sooner rather than later, and that Mexico wouldn't be interested in hiring him, and maybe other teams wouldn't be as interested.
Yeah.
I think with the success that Mexico have had, even with that loss yesterday, it was, I believe, time again has lost all meaning. I do wonder though if there are other clubs, or more specifically other countries, who are looking at him and thinking he might work.
I think this is bigger than Osorio. I think if you think of the contract that Sarakin was given, right, it was till the end of June, with the assumption that we will have found a permanent replacement US men's national team coach somewhere between October 12th or whenever Arena was officially let go and the end of June. Yeah. So it just says to me that maybe US soccer have been slower than they themselves expected in appointing a new US men's national team head coach.
Well, that's better.
Well, that's the worry to me. It just means that they are behind their own timeline, and they've essentially it's like they've got a freelance article due, and they've asked for a 6-month extension.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, Ernie Stewart not coming on board until August 1st, so that could factor into the decision as well. We don't really know.
It's all too slow,
but
though,
when we do know, I'm assuming it will be because of Paul Tenorio.
Well, I think there's a good chance that the story of who actually is the new US men's national team head coach will be broken at The Athletic by Paul Tenorio. The good news is, for TSS listeners, you can get 40% off subscription price if you go to theathletic.com/TSS World Cup. That's theathletic.com/TSS World Cup for 40% off. I want to give a little teaser on a couple other stories that are going to be on there as well. I know that right now Adam Snavely is updating his World Cup panic rankings. So by the time you hear this, the World Cup panic rankings will be out. They might be, for a chuckle, they're my favourite thing on there. For sort of in-depth type stuff, there's also Paolo Bandini's story about Oscar Tavares, the Uruguay head coach. He's a good model for what maybe the US should be looking at in terms of a head coach going forward.
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, he's. I think my favorite part from that story, again, not to spoil too much, was that basically Tavares, when he took over Uruguay, looked at what they had as a national team and thought it's going to be about the youth.
And what year was this?
2006.
2006.
Yes.
That's how long Oscar Tavares has been there. That's how long I think of Uruguay as being a decent national team.
About that, because it is weird to remember that, like, before 2006, we didn't really know much about them. We didn't see them that often outside of like random Copa America times that we would watch them, but we didn't see them in the World Cup. Then
suddenly, 2010 World Cup semi-finals.
Yeah, but I love that he said that he wanted to make sure that his youth national teams were schooled in his tactics, technique, and the history of Uruguayan soccer.
Yes, the youth national teams as well. That's the key, right?
Yeah, that's
all the way up and down the national teams. So if you want to read the Tavares article, if you want to read the updated World Cup panic rankings, or you want all the breaking news about the US men's national team and other teams, it's theathletic.com/TSS World Cup. You'll get 40% off. Words from Taylor and I can also be found there.
Here's a good one for you. We can also be found discussing England's well, I guess should we go spoiler alert right away?
Oh, yeah. So, spoiler alert for Group G, the final group of the World Cup to be decided. England lost to Belgium.
And I'm furious.
Are you really?
I don't know. Everybody's mad, and somebody has to be, but somebody shouldn't be. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't care.
So everyone knew going into this that the team that finished top of this group would end up in the what people are calling the tougher side of the draw for the round of 16.
Yes.
Right? So the argument was that maybe it's better to either lose this game or pick up enough yellow cards that you lose on fair play and finish second. England, I think, didn't choose to lose this game, but did lose this game 1-0 to an Adnan Januzaj wonder goal.
That is my favorite description of this game. They didn't choose to lose this game, but they did lose this game.
It was very confusing to watch.
It really was.
I was watching as an England fan still, and I just had this instinct that was always, go on England, and then, wait, what are we doing? No, is this good or bad? This is very confusing.
This is a great advertisement for... It's about time for the group stage to be over. I think this game was the thesis statement in the argument of it's time for the knockout round.
Shall we? Maybe the way to think about this is both teams knew that this was not any type of must-win game.
Yeah,
possibly the exact opposite. Both teams fielded very much reserved teams. Right, there was a shot on Belgium's bench of literally Lukaku in the middle, flanked by Hazard and De Bruyne. It was almost like their attacking trio were just having a chat while the game was going on.
Yeah.
Dries Mertens not included. They even sent him on in this game, which in a weird way is almost an insult to Dries Mertens.
Yeah, it was late. They just wanted to let him get a run out. Maybe they thought he'll score an own goal. Why not? And then England have to go through top. Before
we talk about the goal, should we talk about this whole weird finishing second thing?
Sure.
You don't want to talk about it, do you?
It's not that I don't want to. It's just I think my opinion is, I know there are people out there who have genuine opinions on this one. That is fine. I think a lot of people have strong opinions about this, but would have had strong opinions regardless of what happened. Okay. I think there are England fans, especially in the media, who would have... If England had won this game, they would have been like, same old England, they're not clever enough to know how to get themselves into the easier part of the bracket. And then when they lose, it's, this is a travesty, they didn't play their full squad, you've ruined the momentum, you've ruined this turn. I think people want to be mad.
Why don't you just at Piers Morgan?
I mean, I was kind of going to go there, but I don't know if we wanted to go there. But that is a perfect example, because he is up in arms about England not trying to win this, and how dare you, and honor, and queen, and I don't know what else. Corgis.
Can I give you my confused emotions?
Sure.
To me, this is a lot like the Senegalese non-penalty, in that I don't fully know, but I have some feelings. How about that? So, first of all, I would have liked to see...
Can that be the title of your autobiography, by the way?
Yes, definitely. I don't fully know, but I have some feelings, and please buy this book.
Yeah.
I would have liked seeing them win a group, just to win a group.
Yeah.
Right? Last time out, we didn't do it in 2014. 2010, we didn't do it either, because the USA won the group, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you did. So I would have liked seeing them win the group. I also think, here's the thing, I agree. I had this conversation with our friend Pav last night after our indoor game. I agree that the other side of the draw, the one that has, Mexico and Brazil and France and Argentina in it, it's definitely better to be in the side of the draw that has Sweden and Switzerland waiting for you in the quarterfinal, which is what the side of the draw that England are in. But the side of the draw that we're in now, we play Colombia in the round of 16 instead of playing Japan in the round of 16. I know that Japan beat Colombia, but Colombia had a man sent off in the first few minutes. I'm pretty confident that Colombia is a stronger team than Japan. And I sort of like to think, if the old cliche of taking one game at a time is true, you should have been trying to win the group to get an easier opponent in the round of 16.
I mean, I suppose that's true, but I think if this England team, not taking either one for granted, I think that they would have felt confident going up against Japan, whether or not that was justified. I think they would have.
Yeah.
And I think against this specific Colombia team, specifically one that may not have James Rodriguez.
Oh, okay.
Peckerman came out after the game and said he didn't really know the extent of the injury, that it wasn't the existing injury that James carried into camp, and that he had trained without pain or any indication of pain yesterday. So there is some concern there. So I think
a James-less Colombia is maybe a bit of an easier...
But I think that's just the thing when it comes down to it, is I think it's the same... It's like... By the same token, England could have played Japan and been knocked out, because Japan have proven themselves to be a very capable team in this World Cup, much more so than I thought they would be. So I just think that's where I go back to, it doesn't really matter, because it's going to be two teams that have both made the knockout round that you're going to have to beat those teams, and then you have to beat the next opponent and the next opponent. Eventually you're going to play a very good opponent, and maybe you beat them or don't. But it just feels...
Maybe we could play not very good opponents all the way to the final. That'd be great.
That's kind of theoretically what the side of the bracket England now find themselves on.
Theoretically. Yeah. All right, one other thing I'd like to think about is my fear in losing this game would be that it derails England's momentum. I don't think that's happened, but maybe I want to discuss that with you. But I think by picking a very much a second-string team, right? So Eric Dyer over Jordan Henderson in the Busquets role, Jamie Vardy ahead of Harry Kane, John Stones only played a half. A lot of Kyle Walker didn't play at all. Kieran Trippier didn't start. I think by picking a second-string team, you, one, get the entire squad a game with the exception of the reserve goalkeepers, right? All the outfield players have now played, right? Danny Welbeck came into this game as the last player to check off the list. And you also haven't lost a game with your first team, so you don't feel like, oh, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were.
Right.
So I think from that psychological perspective, I was worried about losing a game and that is psychologically harming, but now I think we've gotten away with that.
I agree. I think part of it is also that this game wasn't very good, but I also don't think it was ever going to be very good. I think
I wasn't looking forward to it. I knew this was not going to. I didn't wear my England shirt today because I wasn't.
That was your
feeling
protest.
It.
I know. You were talking to your mom beforehand.
Yes.
She was asking that, and you're
she
like,
did
nope,
ask that.
not for this one.
I'm wearing a Star Wars Millennium Falcon t-shirt.
I like that it only comes out for like the games that's deserved.
Exactly.
They've earned it.
Exactly.
And so like I think that even if England had played their starters, I don't think it would have been that entertaining of a game. I think,
but it would have been embarrassing to lose to Belgium's second string because they did the same thing,
right? But and that's true. Maybe they would have won 3-0.
If Harry Kane couldn't score on Dendoncker, then would have been worried.
But it's still, I think then it's great. Well, you beat a second string Belgium team. Well, who cares? And now you've put yourself in the harder bracket. Whatever. I just think it was a bad game, and I think that really factors into the way people perceive this. Because, again, I saw lots of tweets about England ruined the momentum. England just hold on. Stay with me before you wave at Twitter. All I'm saying is that I think this game was boring, and I think when a game is boring and you lose, even if you end up like kind of theoretically getting the result you wanted, I think it's easy to be like, well, it was the team's fault that it was boring and not the situation's fault. And so I don't think momentum is killed. I just think a bad, boring game makes you feel like, oh, that was way worse than it actually was.
And I'll say I'm more interested in what's going on in the England dressing room and in the England hotel and how they're feeling than how people like Piers Morgan and other frustrated people on Twitter are feeling. Because I think
100%.
Those emotions pass quickly and are... they're just by virtue of being on Twitter a lot more cynical than real world emotions.
I mean, look at the shot that we saw of the England bench late in the game when they were losing at that point.
Yeah,
and it's not like you don't have Jesse Lingard juggling socks the way he was before or whatever he was juggling, but it is certainly not a tense. Everyone's biting their nails. Everyone's concerned because we're losing. It was sort of like, all right, whatever. We'll get back to business.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, so let's talk about the actual game.
Sure.
One downside of the game for a lot of players, I think, is that there were no England players that took this chance to play in the World Cup and say to Gareth Southgate, hey, I should be starting, right?
Not a one.
Not a one.
No,
right?
I mean, I think
Fabian Delph is not going to be taking a spot in central midfield after this performance, and Eric Dyer is not going to be jumping ahead of Jordan Henderson, and so on down the list.
The only ones who I think you could say made a somewhat compelling case were maybe Gary Cahill and Phil Jones, but I don't think who was it? Stones leaves, Cahill goes central, Maguire comes in. I think Maguire looked fine, so I don't think either one of them is going to kick him out of his starting spot. Stones is always going to start.
Walker's always going to start. Yeah.
So I think those two maybe made Gareth Southgate feel better about his options if the center back goes down.
Yes.
And that's about the strongest positive I think you could say from this squad.
One guy who I really think had a chance, because I feel like the left wing back, and I've tipped who I'm going to talk about, it was always 50-50 to me. I'd be happy with Danny Rose. I'd be happy with Ashley Young. Seeing Ashley Young for 2 games and then seeing Danny Rose in this game makes me think I'm more happy with Ashley Young.
Is that specifically because of the goal?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, Danny Rose had some good moments going forward. Right? Do you remember the clever, quick free kick at the end to get the ball into Danny Welbeck in the box? I love the quick thinking of Danny Rose on that move. Danny Welbeck's finish, not so much.
Is that the one where he chipped wide?
Yes, there's definitely a good Danny and a bad Danny in that situation. But the goal, the Adnan Januzaj goal, which we should talk to, especially if any Belgian fans are listening, they're like, why are you talking about England only? Adnan Januzaj
I think they understand why we're talking about England only.
It's my accent, right?
Yeah.
In terms of second-string players who got a game and maybe got to at least promote themselves to Roberto Martinez, Adnan Januzaj's the guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a substitute, again,
I
don't think anybody on that Belgium team necessarily is going to supplant anybody else.
They're not dropping De Bruyne or Hazard, but I'm saying when Martinez looks down his bench, he'll be like, oh, you're the guy that did that thing, and it's 15 minutes to go do that thing again.
I hope that's how he talks to him.
Can we talk about his goal?
Sure.
Let's talk about that thing.
It's good work from Belgium to create overloads that cause confusion, I think.
There we go, yes.
Because it's the ball on the right-hand side with Adnan Januzaj. There's some interplay, and basically...
With Tielemans. I think Yuri Tielemans involved.
Yeah, he does. I think he gets the assist. But like the run from Batshuayi is pretty clever in that he runs central. I think Danny Rose isn't, because the ball goes back central as well, Danny Rose isn't sure if he should stay with Januzaj or Batshuayi, so he tracks Batshuayi.
Yep.
And that leaves Januzaj out wide by himself, basically, and then Rose has to really overcommit, I think, in his defensive efforts.
That's
to try
where
to
it
make
starts
up.
to break down,
Yeah.
right? Is that Danny Rose is scurrying over there to try and close it down, and he overcommits, as you said.
Yeah.
But then Januzaj pulls off a couple of moves,
Yep.
all left foot. Just like Leo Messi.
Yes, and it's what he shapes like he's going to cross with his left foot. So I think Rose kind of leans to block that cross, and then Januzaj, this is the really clever part. He rolls over the top of the ball with his left foot so that it would go to Januzaj's right. So now I think Danny Rose thinks, oh, he's feinted like he's going to cross, but now he's going to cut back and then drive that ball across the end line. So he way overcommits and stretches out that right foot,
And
or left foot.
He ends up in like a David De Gea shape.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
basically
With
his
knees out.
His
knees pointing out.
A David De Gea Tibetan good luck symbol is what we've gone with. Yeah, because he has like left foot stretched out, right knee on the ground, essentially. And then Januzaj cuts back. And so I think it
all
was
left
just...
foot, right? So he rolls over the top of the ball, then back across. It's a really good move.
Yeah,
right?
it was some like and one mixtape schoolery.
I can see why David Moyes was in love briefly.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe wasn't in love with Danny Rose. Not that they ever had the opportunity to be, but it was a very good like series of... like if you had like a Xbox controller and it was like hit a bunch of buttons and it was like a combo move, like da-da-da-da, and he was away. It was a very good bit of skill from Januzaj. In fact, I think I have talked myself into, because you started with it, with the idea that, yeah, you're right, Januzaj may have actually played himself into, if Belgium were chasing that final 15 minutes, maybe he comes on to do some stuff.
He's at least up the reserve pecking order. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then he bends it like beyond and around and behind Jordan Pickford.
All of those things.
Great strike with his left foot. Any blame on Jordan Pickford here?
I don't think so, but I think it's telling that you're asking, if that makes any sense.
Yes. I'm happy with Jordan Pickford in goal, mostly for his distribution, which I quite like. But there were a couple of moments where this goal, I don't think we put anything on him. Goalkeeping experts may think differently. But there were also two goal-mouth scrambles where Pickford goes to ground, gets a hand on the ball, doesn't get the ball. Ball pops loose, including one where Gary Cahill, I think, has to do a sort of off-the-line saving tackle.
Yeah, that's the first one. The second one...
And they're not horrible errors, right? They're just... he didn't quite get the ball.
Yeah, but the second one, though, it felt to me like he remembered in the middle of that scrum, like, oh, right hands. Like, it just felt like he didn't quite remember that he was allowed to use those things. And it's just, he had a couple moments where he didn't look as strong as you would like your England goalkeeper to look. And maybe there's a little bit of cause for alarm there, but we shall see.
Yeah, well, let's hope we don't see.
Yeah, I think it will take like one big save in the Colombia game, like early on, for both of us to be like, okay, that's better than we thought.
Since we're talking England, if you don't mind indulging me, one thing I think was confirmed for me...
Again, 89% of me is very happy to talk about England.
11% is like, when's this over? Yeah. Eric Dyer playing in that Jordan Henderson role as the one defensive midfielder. Yeah. I'm convinced after this game, I think I knew it before, that he's just not as good at getting open and setting the tempo and moving the ball. Dyer is not as good as Henderson at getting the ball, moving the ball around, being open, setting the tempo, making passing moves happen out of the back.
I agree.
I think it's pretty straightforward then,
Yeah, it absolutely is. More so than I would have thought, because, I watch Tottenham as much as any person who watches the Premier League watches them. I'm not a fan of Tottenham. But I
as much as any non-Spurs fan, is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah.
But more than an Arsenal fan.
Exactly. That's well said. But I did have this idea of like, he plays for Pochettino. It's this high tempo, high pressure. He's got to be able to move the ball quickly and figure out those passes. And it did feel like Jordan Henderson just excels a little bit more. It also seemed like Eric Dyer.
Henderson's really, really good as part of it. This isn't a massive knock on Dyer. It's just that he's not as good as Jordan Henderson.
It's what
English Busquets.
It's what at least I think we have been discovering this season, is that Jordan Henderson is way better than people might think. Yep. And even just from a leadership standpoint, the fact that he's out there barking orders and organizing the defense and letting the center backs know, don't do that, you need to do this, and shielding those center backs a little bit. That was the other thing that stood out to me about Eric Dyer, is it felt like he was almost tasked with getting forward more and kind of pushing the ball further up the field faster, whereas it felt like Jordan Henderson is responsible for patrolling the middle, making sure the ball keeps moving, but not necessarily getting stretched, always protecting that back three.
Did it seem to you that with Jamie Vardy up front, especially, partnered by Marcus Rashford instead of Kane and Sterling, England went more direct than previously? And part of me wants to think that maybe this is because we can't play through Dyer because he can't quite do it. And part of me thinks that because it's Jamie Vardy up there, maybe the plan all along was go pretty direct and we'll just hit Vardy over the top. because it seemed like that's what they were trying quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I found that a little bit frustrating.
My assumption here is that also if you look at who else was in that midfield, it's Fabian Delph and it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I would say did not have his best game.
RLC?
Yeah. I didn't think his passing was as good as we've seen.
Let's say that's up against quite a high standard for his two most recent England appearances.
Fair.
Yeah.
But I think when you have that, in my opinion, reality, it makes more sense that if you've got Jamie Vardy and Marcus Rashford, who are both fast, Jamie Vardy can body people off. He's not afraid to do that dirty work. Mm-hmm. And given how talented Belgium are...
I was hoping he'd get a yellow card, by the way.
I think we both were kind of speculating that if England score, are like 7 of them going to take off their jerseys to make sure they all get carded.
Yeah, I totally would have taken England. Oh no, because England win and a yellow card would have meant topping the group.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Right.
But I think it would have been a logical, at least half approach from Gareth Southgate to think Belgium are going to like possess and dominate and be in our defensive like third a lot. So when we get the ball, let's look long. Vardy knocks it down. Rashford runs off of him. Yeah. We can hit him on the counter very quickly and theoretically effectively, although that was not the case in this game.
Marcus Rashford had a very Marcus Rashford game.
Hold on, he's shooting right now.
Exactly. Okay. He's opening his hips.
Oh, he's shooting again.
He's shooting just wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are both weirdly...
Oh, he shot again.
Rashford admirers, but what's the word for when you're frustrated by something?
I think, okay, I would say this, and I'm knocking on wood here.
Yeah.
It is what happens when you spend too much time with a person that like and I'm knocking on wood because I have not had this with Daryl Grove, but it's like the jokes in movies about when two people spend too much time together and like one starts drumming his fingers and you're like, if you drum your fingers again, I'm gonna break your fingers. Like Marcus Rashford, I think the more we watch him together, the more we see like if you shoot that ball again instead of passing, it's just a thing that stands out is he looks to shoot before he looks to see if there are other options.
Yeah.
And while that might be great if you are this predatory, always goal-scoring striker, if you are shooting the ball wide or shooting the ball into traffic or shooting the ball straight at the goalkeeper and not looking at there's an overlapping run there that's on and we can combine and maybe that ball gets squared to me and now I've got an easy tap in. It's a worrying sign both as an England fan and as a Manchester United fan.
I think he was trying to prove a point of
I think you're right.
Maybe I should start, so I'm going to score a wonder goal. Because that is a lot of what he does is score wonder goals, right? And I think in doing so, he maybe made the case for Raheem Sterling. Yeah. Definitely no contest starting ahead of him when things get serious. Raheem Sterling was involved in that 1-2 for the Jesse Lingard goal. He can be the setup man. Rashford to me is still, if he's going to sort of dribble a lot and shoot a lot, he's basically going to have to be the Adnan Januzaj. He's have to be the guy that comes off the bench and you hope he conjures something up, as opposed to the guy you start. Because you mentioned Ruben Loftus-Cheek, this could have been the game where he got a goal.
Yeah, it could have been.
Because Vardy slipped. Remember that great ball, like reverse pass almost? It was almost a Quintero reverse pass from Jamie Vardy.
The FIFA goal was on.
Yep, Rashford is through. I understand why he shot, but Ruben Loftus-Cheek was ready for that FIFA square pass.
It was such a good run. He held his run up. He made sure he was always on side. And it was timed perfectly so that Thibaut Courtois comes charging off of his line and really commits to Rashford's going to shoot this ball. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe right there, that's a sign that he knew Rashford's going to shoot this ball.
I've seen this.
And never really looked to cover that angle as well to make sure that Ruben Loftus-Cheek didn't get it. And I would say...
They have Sky Sports at Shea Courtois, right?
Now I'm thinking about it, I feel like there's a chance that's what happened because if it's another situation, I do think a goalkeeper takes just a little bit more of an angle to the left to make sure that pass isn't so on, or if it does go there, that he has at least that angle covered a bit more, the goalkeeper. And in this case, Thibaut Courtois just comes out and blocks that shot and makes the save. And it was frustrating just because that it was set up so perfectly for a square ball to RLC. We go with that.
That's why
every time you say that, though,
easier to say.
Every time you say that, it triggers R.L. Stein for me, like the scary children's book author who wrote like 700. Yeah, he wrote like 700 scary books and gave up like after about the 100th, and it just became like, and the monster was gone. They never saw it again. The end.
RLC's got like 100 scary moves.
That's true. Not so many in this game. Yes, and I think we are definitely being harsh on Marcus Rashford because
it's because you can see
it was a harsh game.
You can see the player he could be, right? If he would just maybe think 3, 4, 5 moves ahead instead of just Rashford shoots, Rashford puts it top corner, Rashford gets headlines. I really think that's what he's thinking.
Well, here's what I'm thinking.
He's not a teenager anymore. What? He's 20, 21? I'm hoping he knows better.
I feel like you would be the dad who, like, as the kid turned 18, like, you're not a youngster anymore. Get out of the house. Like, it's my birthday. It's midnight. Like, what are you doing?
Take your EpiPen with you.
But I'm going to give Gareth Southgate the Juan Carlos Osorio treatment for a second here.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe Southgate is just a genius, and he whispered to Marcus Rashford's ear before the game started, don't look very good, and that will make Raheem Sterling look better, and everybody will like stop being mean to Raheem. And then Marcus Rashford did what he did.
So Rashford took one for the team.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to complete the set because we've talked about every player that played in this game except for Trent Alexander-Arnold
and anyone on Belgium.
And anyone else, except for Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I think it's worth just noting that he gets a World Cup game. He's never going to displace Kieran Trippier.
Nope.
Just because I think of the inexperience.
I think it's Trippier, by the way, you'll find.
How dare you?
Emails to Daryl@TotalSoccerShow.com.
But just getting TAA on the field, I don't think he had a stellar game. I don't think he had a bad game. But I think just getting him some World Cup experience so that if Kieran Trippier goes down, if something happens to Kieran Trippier, we don't have to start thinking, oh, well, Trent hasn't got the experience. Maybe we should put Kyle Walker at right wing back and bring another centre back in. I think there was a really good sort of, laying the groundwork for an emergency TAA appearance if we need him later on.
So here's the thing. I love that you tried to go back to TAA, but the reality is that you just called him Trent like 3 times in that one.
Because it was on the England team sheet.
Sure. But I did thoroughly enjoy the moment when Trent Alexander-Arnold got the ball wide, and I think you were like, Alexander-Arnold, and he crossed it in, and it just went straight out of bounds. And you were like, well, you could see what he was looking for, though. Like you were definitely willing to forgive.
I'm definitely pro-Trent. Final name we haven't mentioned is the social media master himself.
Michy Batshuayi.
So
I love this man. I love him so much.
There's a great tweet from him that said, we'll admit the swear words. How about that? But he said, this is like, an hour after the game? He said, I knew I'd be in trouble when I opened Twitter.
Yeah.
Because after Adnan Januzaj puts the ball in the back of the net, Michy Batshuayi, who is somewhat involved in the goal, right? Because he dragged Danny Rose away, opened the space for Januzaj. So that was good.
Yep.
After the ball goes in the net, Batshuayi grabs the ball, tries to finish it again in an Alan Partridge and another one kind of way. Ball hits the post, bounces back, hits Batshuayi in the face.
Yep. There are many, many GIFs of it online. You can find them wherever your GIFs are sold. And it's hilarious, especially because it's Januzaj hitting it so hard that the ball kind of comes out of the net as opposed to just sits in it. Yeah. And that's why Batshuayi is right there. He's framing goal, and he just catches it and is like, I'll have one too. Smash, face, ow. And I did then spend the next 2 minutes watching the tactical cam just to see that moment where he gingerly rubbed his face. It didn't come. So he's a warrior. He wasn't having any of it. Or he just didn't want to show that he was slightly embarrassed until he logged on to social media.
So that's Belgium-England, such as it was. The other 2 teams in the group, they could not go through, right? So Panama, Tunisia, they were playing for pride, playing for last game at World Cup, last game at 2018. These are not teams that regularly always make the World Cup. Panama's first time ever. So there was some pride going on there, right? We watched this game. There was more excitement. What we saw of this game, we didn't watch this game closely. I'd say there was more excitement and intensity in this game than the England-Belgium game.
Yeah, I think both sides trying to get a point, wanting to get some goals, wanting to get something to take back, to be proud of. Yeah.
Well, Panama can take back a goal. Tunisia can take back 3 points because it finished 2-1 to Tunisia. Panama took the lead with, I don't know if it's going to be credited as an own goal or
it's been credited as an own goal.
Oh, that's a shame for Rodriguez. Yep. So Rodriguez, the winger for Panama, who was starting because Quintero it was injured. Quintero would have been the guy in the roster. Had that strike. It hits Maria for a Tunisian own goal.
Yeah, and I would say a big part of it is basically that Maria is appealing for offside, I think, on Roman Torres, who is not offside, because Torres gets the ball, lays it off, then the shot comes.
Guess who was playing him on?
I guess that would be Maria, who is calling for it. I think he reacts in time to make a play on the ball, but I think if he weren't standing there with his hand in the air, maybe he's able to cut the shot out just a little bit more cleanly.
And with all due respect to Tunisia, I think this is the 3rd game in a row where we've seen some borderline comedy defending from them, or at least defending that does not make any sense to me. Yeah,
I mean, or just mental lapses. Indicative of a team that wasn't necessarily ready to defend in that sort of organized, compact way that we've seen from other teams who are trying to stay competitive.
But second half, we saw the good side of Tunisia.
This is true.
We saw some flowing attacks and some interesting moves and 2 really good goals. I'm going to say 2 really good goals for Tunisia to win this game 2-1.
You want to start with the second one? Just kidding. Let's go to the first one.
So the first one, it is scored by Ben Youssef, a fine finish. But to me, it's all about Sliti.
Absolutely.
Sliti's turn on Gomez. He leaves Gomez in his dust.
Yeah, because at this point, it's Panama in a 4-4-2 theoretically, but it's 4-4-2, everybody behind the ball.
Yeah.
So it's very compact, and it can be very difficult, as we've talked about several times, to break down that compact defense. It either takes...
Depends how quick your feet are.
True. It takes either a moment of ingenuity on the attack's part or a mistake on the defense's part. Here, I think we get both, because I think Gomez is not in the best position to be able to defend. I think if you're going with that, even if they're in a 4-4-2, he is going to be the deepest one of those midfielders, and you expect him to just be shielding a little bit more. Instead, it is really a straight 4, and I think that's essentially why Sleety is able to get the ball, turn, because then Gomez is trying to pressure him, put pressure on as fast as he can, but he's not in the best position to do so. He gets turned, and now it's basically Sleety going in on goal with 4 defenders trying to quickly shut him down.
That sounds right. Can we just talk a second about this Sleety move, though?
Sure.
It's like one of those, I think you called it in the studio, you called it left foot, right foot, but with the fast, I'm going to say 180 turn in the middle. And that's the impressive part, is that quick swivel in the middle to get away from Gomez.
Because I think Gomez anticipates that his touch, because Sleety is facing away from goal, if he receives with his right foot, so the expectation is, he's going to go back towards midfield.
Yeah, he'll play safe.
I'll poke that ball away, or I'll intercept. And then Sleety instead receives with his right foot, but then turns with the left foot, inside of his left foot, and now he's in on goal. Gomez burnt.
He should have known that Tunisia never play it safe.
Yes.
So he sprays it out wide to Khazri. Khazri, nice cross the box ball for Ben Youssef to make it 1-1.
Yep.
One interesting thing is that at half time, Panama had subbed out Gabi Torres, easily their fastest striker, for Harold Cummings, who is a centre-back. I don't know if there's an injury or something, but it seemed like definitely maybe a more defensive move from Panama in the second half. Any Panama fans know why that move happened? Was it just to try and defend that 1-0 lead early, or was there some injury? I'd love to know the backstory on that, if anyone has it.
Would you, though? Are you really that concerned about this?
I don't want it to be that Panama said, all right, we're going to defend for 45 minutes and then failed by conceding 2.
Why wouldn't you want that to be the case? Because I feel like...
Because it didn't work out for them.
I mean, obviously, but I feel like that's a defensible decision. That, like, if you have that 1-0 lead, if you haven't led in a World Cup before, you would probably want to see that. You would want to make that defensive change. But I'm with you, though, that if that means you're disrupting what was working for you in the first half, then maybe it was an ill-timed decision.
Yeah, and I'll say the best form of... defense against Tunisia is attack.
Yeah.
How about that? Tunisia get the winner, and it's their left back who makes it happen for me. Number 5, Haddadi, plays a very nice little 1-2 with Badri down the left, I believe. Of course, that's where the left back is, yeah?
Yeah, and then it's Haddadi getting to the end line, scoring for Khazri. Khazri knocks it home. 2-1 Tunisia. Commiserations to Panama.
Can we maybe circle Ovalle as well? Number 17, the Panamanian left back who Khazri just snuck on the blind side, right? So I don't think Ovalle will want to watch this one back.
No, but I'm not sure that many people were watching this one. I think probably most of the eyes were on Belgium, England, and even then, those eyes were probably only like half open.
Final note on Panama. There has been a lot of talk in England about Panama not deserving to be at this World Cup and how maybe CONCACAF don't deserve as many spots as they get at this World Cup. So I'm glad at least that Panama didn't get blown out in this final game against Tunisia. At least this one was close and Panama got another goal. It means a lot to Panamanians.
Yeah.
It's not going to convince any English journalists, is it? But
no, but I don't think they're going to be convinced no matter what.
That's a fair summary of English journalists. All right, that's it. Group stages completely reviewed, completely done. We are ready for the round of 16. We are ready for games that go to extra time and penalties and single elimination. So we're going to preview the Saturday round of 16 games for you in just a moment. But first, today's show is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Roughneck Scarves has all the World Cup scarves. Every national team, you can get a scarf at roughneckscarves.com. We want to show some love to the eliminated teams.
So we asked on Twitter, if you were to buy a Roughneck Scarves national team scarf for one of the 16 eliminated World Cup teams, which one would you buy?
We got some love for Senegal. A lot of people showing some love for Senegal, including Steve Nashty and Steve Renard. Both wanted to buy a Senegal scarf to keep them not in the tournament, but at least around their necks.
And Daryl says Andrew Gentilucci had the correct answer of Peru.
I really think Peru could have been the dream team at this tournament if Christian Cueva hadn't put that penalty over the bar. I really do. So I want to
keep pouring that salt in the wound.
It's not salt in the wound. It's saying I wish they'd stayed longer. I loved Peru.
We also had some nominations for custom scarves.
Yes.
One coming from John Adams, who said, I'd get a half and half scarf of Germany and Poland. One side would say good sausages. The other side would say bad tournaments.
See, that's not so much showing love as that's pouring salt on the sausage, right? Jersey Jonathan
They already
said,
have plenty of sodium. You don't need more salt on there.
Jersey Jonathan said, my eliminated team commemorative scarf, which I guess he would custom design, would say Auf Wiedersehen on one side. I wonder who that's in reference to. And Gracias Korea. Korea spelled with a C on the other. I'm assuming that's in Spanish for Mexico.
I would say that's a safe bet.
Oh, okay. Morocco, also worth a shout as a goodbye scarf. Taylor shrugs. All right. if you want to go to roughneckscarves.com and buy a scarf to show support for one of the teams that has been eliminated from the 2018 World Cup, you can find them at roughneckscarves.com. You can use the code TOTALSOCCERSHOW. That's TOTALSOCCERSHOW, all one word, for 20% off any scarf you find at roughneckscarves.com.
There we are. So thank you to Roughneck Scarves for sponsoring today's program. Final segment, Mr. Grove. We got some games to preview. Only two.
So we get a day off.
Yep.
Friday. Nobody watch any soccer on Friday. Recharge your batteries. That's what I'm going to do. Then Saturday, 10 a.m. on Fox. It's the first round of 16 game. It's France versus Argentina.
Yes.
Later in the day, 2 p.m., it's Uruguay-Portugal. But if I'm honest, my mouth is watering for France versus Argentina. Mm-hmm. Two talented teams, but it's also dysfunction junction.
They make you hungry?
In many ways. I'm salivating to watch. My eyes are salivating. Crying.
I think that's just crying, yeah. A man who might be crying is Jorge Sampaoli, given his coverage in the past 48 hours or so.
This is the talking point for this game, right?
I think so. And much to the delight of Didier Deschamps, I have to imagine, is that, there was a clip showing, it looked like Leo Messi walking over to the bench during Argentina's game against Nigeria. Messi consulting with the bench, and then it appears that Jorge Sampaoli asks him, should I bring on Sergio Aguero? He uses the nickname for Sergio Aguero, which I feel slightly weird saying on air. So instead, I'll just say he asked, should I bring on Aguero? Do you want to bring on Aguero? It doesn't speak very strongly of Sampaoli having control of that team.
No, it means that basically Sampaoli's just doing the paperwork for Messi's subs. I mean, we read this as the players had a lot of input, that maybe they negotiated more input with Sampaoli. It seems to me now that it is worse than that basically Messi...
I was pretty sure that it was Messi running the team.
It looks like Coach Messi and assistant coach / co-coach Javier Mascherano, right?
/ fall guy. Because I'm going to say that's what Jorge Sampaoli is for this team now.
So does the hierarchy go Messi, Mascherano, large gap... Jorge Sampaoli.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it seems, at least. I think they did the press conference without him, so it feels as though he is there theoretically, but I don't think anyone is listening to him when it comes to any sort of decision making.
Where's the press conference without?
I think
without
the one before Nigeria, the Nigeria game, it was just Mascherano answering questions for an hour, apparently.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was have we talked about this yet? The best evidence maybe for all of this is the tunnel before the Nigeria game, maybe even at halftime as well. There's basically a team talk where Leo Messi is giving the team talk.
It was the halftime team talk. Yeah, it's basically Sampaoli emerges from the locker room. He's in the dugout. The rest of the team doesn't come out yet. Then we see them in the tunnel, circled up, Leo Messi talking. Then they come out. Again, it means that Leo Messi giving the final instructions, giving that final motivational speech, not the manager.
And also Sampaoli not present on the field after the game for the celebrations after the win. So I think I'm all in on the idea that this is Leo Messi's team at this point. So I also think he has to take some of the blame if he gets it wrong against France. If Coach Messi gets it wrong against France, then it's Coach Messi's fault.
I mean, I would agree. I'm not sure that's how it will be depicted. I think it's going to be Leo Messi made the most of a bad situation.
So what will Argentina do under the Messi-Mascherano regime? Will they take the team, the starting 11 and the shape that went out against Nigeria and just say, this is our best team, this is what we're going to send out to face France?
I mean, I would have to ask Leo Messi, but that would be my guess.
That would be my guess too, because I imagine that they've spent a lot of time thinking about what is best for us as a group, what is best in terms of getting the most out of the group we got here. It doesn't seem like they're Juan Carlos Osorio, Rotaciones type coaches.
No, I don't think so.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're trusting the players who've been there that have the best familiarity. That's why I think we will see, say, Gonzalo Higuain start, because even though he didn't look so sharp, I think he is the one that group of players favors over Sergio Aguero.
It's a generational thing, right? It's like if you're around 30 years old and you've spent a lot of time with Messi and Mascherano in the last few years, you're probably favoured to start in this game. Ever Banega is, I think, the other one that maybe Sampaoli didn't always start. He was kind of central to the win against Nigeria, right? He played that long
literally
ball.
And figuratively, yes.
Yeah, it's very central midfield. I believe Joseph Larry wrote a piece where I think Banega had the most touches of any Argentinian player. He played that ball over the top for Messi, so I would expect Ever Banega to start alongside Javier Mascherano in midfield.
That seems problematic to me, though. As does potentially starting Angel Di Maria, because I don't think Angel Di Maria looked very sharp. I think there's a case to be made for why Paulo Dybala should start there, but I don't think he will. And then Banega and Mascherano, I mean, That's two gentlemen who are older, who definitely, Mascherano especially, did not look good against Nigeria. The idea of him going up against a 2 or 3 man midfield featuring very likely Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante, that seems problematic for Argentina.
There's a lot of distance in those legs. Those short legs and long legs have a lot of distance in them. Pogba and N'Golo Kante.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, so I think... So wait... Oh, yeah, I got you. Okay. I see what you mean. I was like, what? Yeah. It's mileage for the Argentinian midfielder, and then it's distance for the French midfield. Gotcha.
I'd also say the thing to look out for is under the Messi regime, which is what I'm calling that Nigeria game, right? They definitely did it. We talked about it in the review, but they did a thing where Perez nominally played right wing / right mid, but his job was almost to vacate the space sometimes and let Leo Messi in his free role wander over to the right wing. Yeah. So Perez would drag someone away, Messi would fill the space, and then hopefully Messi has room to work. I would bet good money that we see the exact same thing again.
So, yeah, and then the question for me then becomes, how do France deal with that? Because we've seen them kind of game plan on occasion for the opponents they're facing in this tournament. So I'm wondering if they will have a specific player marking Leo Messi, if they'll have a way of dealing with him, if they'll try to cut it out at the source. But that will be a question that will need to be answered by Didier Deschamps, who I think, again, is very happy with the instability at Argentina, because otherwise...
It makes him look better.
If it were, yeah, well, it's that, but it's also the case that if this group finished the way I think a lot of people expected, and it were Argentina and then, say, Croatia or Nigeria, it's France going up against Croatia or Nigeria, and I think then the story is, Didier Deschamps, is he the right manager? Is it going to be Zinedine Zidane? Can he figure it out? Can he get everybody to play together?
So we chose deliberately to talk first about Sampaoli and Messi and Mascherano. That's where the focus is, right? Yeah. We were just drawn like a moth to the flame to that story.
I mean, that's how it works, but I think Deschamps has many questions and lots of criticism, obviously, so if this game does not go well, which it very well may not, then it's going to be even louder voices, but right now I think most of the attention is on the perceived dysfunction with Argentina.
So what are the problems with France? In my head, I remember all 3 games I've watched, it's looked like there isn't a plan when the ball gets to the feet of the forwards. It's more like get the ball to Giroud's feet, Mbappe's feet, Griezmann's feet, and then we just hope something will happen. Yep. There's no synchronized system or pattern of play. The only thing is maybe Mbappe's got some moves and that will open things up, or Giroud's good in the air.
I would say Giroud is maybe a part of it, because we've seen him combine and have little quick little 1-2s and do link-up play as the furthest forward striker. So I don't think it's just him winning the ball in the air. I think it can be combining through the middle, but it's not something that I think that they have necessarily game planned or set themselves up to do. It happens infrequently, which I think speaks to it's something that the players know how to do, like from an improvising standpoint.
Okay, so we're not even going to guess at how Deschamps sets up that midfield and attack, because he's rotated it so much.
Because he's probably still trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah, probably like a 1 minute before an hour before, a minute before kickoff decision. What can we say for sure? Theo Hernandez will almost certainly be the left back, right? So he's the one that's going to be trying to deal with Messi over on that side. I would guess Pavard as the right back, because Sidibe did not have a great game when he stepped in the other game.
No, but it could very well be those two. It could also be like Matuidi doing a more defensive job, maybe, possibly. It could be
he's the one that man-marked Advincula when they played Peru, right?
Yeah, or at least like lock down that side. So maybe they'll go with Steven Nzonzi, theoretically, and he just tracks Leo Messi. Ooh. And then you have N'Golo Kante holding, Paul Pogba in there too, and you've got a midfield 3. I'm saying like it could be any number of solutions for Deschamps. I am very happy that I'm not the one who has to figure it out.
Final thing, I think I said that I was certain that Perez would start on the right to clear out space for Messi. Didn't you tell me before we started recording that there's a possibility that Perez is
I think he's
injured?
Carrying an injury, or that's why he had to be subbed out, or there were some concerns after the game.
So one thing to watch for will be if someone replaces Perez on the right, do they do that Perez job, which is the make space for Messi job?
Yeah. The other one that I would say is a big question mark for me is Tagliafico for Argentina.
The left back?
Yeah, if he's starting, if he is sort of doing the Jordi Alba role, as was speculated by Jorge Sampaoli, so grain of salt there.
Yeah, because Sampaoli's not the coach anymore, though, right? Yeah. So maybe the fullbacks don't get forward in a Sampaoli way.
But if he does, that leaves a decent amount of space on France's right side, which is where we think Kylian Mbappe would be. So then there should be some opportunities in space for Mbappe on the break.
So even if Tagliafico stays back, I'm interested to see how he handles going up against that Mbappe move when he goes one way then the other, and you just, even though you know what he's doing, you can't catch him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's a big test for Tagliafico and for Mascherano.
Yep.
We talked about the midfield. I could see there being a couple of Mascherano and Mbappe 1v1s, which would be interesting to say the least.
That makes sense.
Mascherano slide tackles. Maybe Mbappe will be the first player in history to evade a Mascherano slide tackle.
I think there are a couple of those for Nigeria.
Oh, really? No, he got there. He got there.
Not every time, I think. I think the ones that you're remembering he did, I think he was worse than either one of us realized in that game. And I have actually gone back and watched a few because I was like, was he that bad? And there's definitely chunks where it is like, ooh, he is not in the right position. He is definitely roaming around and talking to people and not necessarily focusing. And there was one where he got kind of lucky. He has this was in the Croatia game. He had a moment where he was kind of going back and forth with Mario Mandzukic. And the first time I saw it, it was funny.
That's a mistake from the start.
Well, it is, because I think Mandzukic ended up just making fun of Mascherano's height. But he got lucky because then there's a little bit of jostling, and he absolutely stamps on Mandzukic's foot, and it really could have been a red card. So I think he still has that propensity to get wound up. He could have gotten a second yellow card for screaming at the referee for a good 30 or 45 yards. So it's an issue, I think, for Argentina if he gets a little too wound up, Mascherano.
Interesting. Okay. Assistant coach has to stay calm.
Yeah.
All right. That's France v Argentina. A big team is going out in the round of 16. That's what's happening there, right? Messi or Mbappe is going out, or Pogba is going out in the round of 16. I'm really excited for this game.
As am I. Then at 2 p.m., as you said, we've got Uruguay v Portugal.
I'm going to say less exciting.
Yeah.
I've seen both of these teams play. Neither of these teams are attack-first teams. Both of these teams like to keep things secure. I think Portugal are definitely a team that likes to hit on the counter-attack and will definitely get numbers behind the ball first. Mostly I've seen Uruguay do the same thing, or at least not overcommit. So these are like two teams that are like not willing to commit to a relationship with an attack.
I was going to go with I feel like France.
They're just dating their attack.
I feel like France Argentina is the dessert. Like you're definitely getting dessert first because it is so many questions and so many creative players that could go one way, it could go the other, and it could be awesome.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And then Uruguay Portugal is sort of your entree that is very straightforward. It's meat and potatoes.
So it's like drama first, tactics later.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we know about, say, Uruguay, or what are our questions about Uruguay?
Well, we know Jose Jimenez should be okay to play. I would guess he will start this game, which means it'll be him.
So the centre-back partnership will be reunited. Godin and Jimenez, Atletico Madrid and Uruguay centre-back partnership.
And they will be dealing with Cristiano Ronaldo. So you've got a little bit of a Madrid derby. That's good.
You do. So there'll be a mini Madrid derby. Darbinho?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Whatever the Russian is for derby. We'll go that route.
I will be also looking at Rodrigo Bentancur. So I was really impressed with him in the group stage. He is the number 6 with the best posture in the World Cup. Very good at passing, moving, keeping that ball moving. Nothing too flash, but lots of tempo from Bentancur. But he's going up against what's usually a heavily populated Portuguese midfield, right? There's normally William Carvalho sitting at the base, then there's João Moutinho or Adrian Silva ahead of him, and then the wingers are sort of tucked in. So I'm not sure, can Bentancur find the space to pass and move through a Portuguese midfield? Big test for Bentancur.
All right, well, I've gone the big names to begin with, and I'll continue that on because we have the Madrid derby on one side. On the other side, you've got Pepe v Suarez, so you've got a little bit of a El Clasico familiarity there, and I'm curious how those two end up going against each other if they try to rally each other up.
Yeah, the bad boy derby.
I suspect that both will succeed in riling the other one up.
Both will succeed, and it'll be fun to watch. Right? Tactically for Uruguay, Laxalt, is the big question.
Yep.
So Laxalt is the marauding left-back that we saw in Uruguay's final game against Russia. Caused Russia all kinds of problems, right? He got their right-back sent off by cutting inside across the front of him. But he didn't start any other game. So I'm really curious, will Oscar Tavares say, all right, Laxalt is the weapon. We're going to field this weapon against Portugal. Or will he be too conservative and keep Laxalt back?
I mean, or not start him would be the other option. Yeah,
or bring him in later, maybe.
Or not at all. What I'm saying is, I think it will be a good indicator of what their approach is going to be if Laxalt is in there. I don't see why you would start him and then have him stay back and be defensive. So I think if they start him, it means they're going to be a little bit more attacking down that side. If they don't, it means they won't.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's definitely a name to look out for on the team sheet. Maybe not a name you're familiar with, but a name that will indicate a lot about what's going on in this game. All right, over for Portugal, I think in terms of team selection, it's a question of 3 Silvas.
Yep.
Is it Bernardo Silva or Ricardo Quaresma on the right wing? Is it Goncalo Guedes or Andre Silva partnering Cristiano Ronaldo? And is it Adrian Silva or João Moutinho in central midfield ahead of William Carvalho? In some ways, it doesn't make that much difference.
No. I think the only one that I would say with some confidence is that if he's fit and good to play, then I would say João Moutinho starts, just because he seems like he has the familiarity and consistency in that midfield.
I think there's
they'll want.
I think there's just a pecking order, and he's ahead of Adrian Silva. So, that's injuries permitting, right?
Yeah.
But Ricardo Quaresma.
That's a bigger question mark for me.
Normally you'd say Bernardo Silva, right? Manchester City player, like does a lot of like good work with the ball. But then Ricardo Quaresma had that moment. He had that Trivela in the final group stage game.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, best of luck to Fernando Santos making that decision. And then I think one thing that's really going to be really telling, the Guedes versus Andre Silva ? If it's Andre Silva, expect more of an aerial bombardment from Portugal, crosses into the box because he's better in the air. If it's Gonçalo Guedes partnering Ronaldo, expect more of a pacey through the middle counter-attacking setup from Portugal. So that will be telling as well.
And I would agree. And then I would say the final thing that I think could be potentially interesting is the fact that it's two like known but unknown goalkeepers will be starting, because you've got Fernando Muslera, who has long been linked with a move away from Galatasaray to a bigger club. He hasn't made that move, but I think he could.
But we all know his name, right?
Yeah.
And we all respect him, even though he doesn't like play big-time Champions League all the time.
He is, but I bet most, if you ask most people to list their best 15 goalkeepers in the world, I don't think he would be on that list in a non-World Cup year. I think it's easy to forget about him because
every 4 years he makes the list.
Yeah, kind of, because it is like, oh yeah, right, him, he's really good. And Rui Patricio has been very good in this World Cup so far, getting the move to Wolverhampton, so I know that makes you excited.
It certainly
but
does.
I feel like if he pulls off a couple saves, like he had, like I think I've seen multiple people say that the star of this World Cup so far has been Ronaldo and Rui Patricio, for Portugal. It's like Ronaldo, Rui Patricio, and then everybody else. And I do think that if he pulls off a couple saves, he gets a bit more ink and maybe a bit more excitement for the Premier League season.
That makes sense. All right, so things to watch for in this game then. Definitely counterattacks from both teams going to be really important. Set pieces from both teams
100%.
going to be really important.
Because, again, look at those matchups. If it's Portugal attacking, it's Ronaldo, potentially Quaresma. You've got Godin and Jimenez defending against them. Then flipping it around and Portugal are defending. You've got Suarez and Cavani doing things. You've got Godin is absolutely going to crash on those set pieces.
Godin and Jimenez are both super dangerous from set. You know, I'm not a fan of sending centre-backs forward for set pieces. I think I might make an exception for Godin and Jimenez because they manage to clear out space to get the ball, and they'll put headers on target. They're a genuine threat on set pieces for Uruguay.
Absolutely.
The other thing to watch out for is what I've just decided, I'm going to see if you agree, is the most attacking, interesting version of this game features Guedes starting alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, because that says Portugal are going a bit faster on the counter-attack. And it features Laxalt starting at left-back for Uruguay, because that means they're going to be a bit more aggressive and pushy down that left side. Yeah?
So I look forward to neither of them starting.
We look forward to Caceres and Valera and...
Varela? Yeah.
Sorry, Varela and Andre Silva.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to watch anyway. 2 p.m. on Fox. And then, of course, Saturday evening, we will have the review show out where we will be fully focused. We'll have deep reviews on both these games. Let's hope there's lots of goals to talk about.
Agreed.
All right. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We're going to take 24 hours off, but we'll be back again on Saturday.